hope I've not embarrassed you, Ambassador.
You seem to forget, Captain, that I'm a Vulcan. I'm not affected by emotional considerations.
Hello, welcome back to Star Trek Sodium. This week we have the very popular episode Sarek from Season 3 of Star Trek The Next Generation. So let's get into the facts. This episode features the return of classic Star Trek character Sarek. But did you know that he wasn't the original choice of ham-fisted character to make a big comeback? The first idea was to have Gary Mitchell to show his soapy face again, but when that fell through, 3 more ideas came to the minds of the Crucid Star Trek writing team. Next up was Barrier Jake and then Guinan, but the final idea, and perhaps the best, was for Sarek of Vulcan to make his well-deserved return to Star Trek. You can probably see that Lever Burton has a named credit for this episode for his role of playing Geordie LaForge, but we should count ourselves lucky that he even made it safely to the studio to film his fondly remembered scenes. The previous day he had left the studio, but had forgotten to remove his space visor that sits tightly on his face. He was so used to wearing it that he didn't give it a second's thought, which proved to be a big mistake when he stepped into moving traffic. The space engineer could barely see a thing at all as he travelled home, and luckily the car that hit him on the road was being driven by a stunt driving coordinator from Paramount, who had super fast reactions. Lever was safe, but he learned a severe lesson that day. Don't cross the road with something covering your face, as it could easily end with having your guts splashed across the road. At the wrap party at the end of filming Sarek, Marina Citrus allegedly saw a bump on the ground in one of the sets of Star Trek Studio 9. She was possibly seen leaving the group of friends and investigating the small mound on the floor. Beckoning over Michael Piller, they worked together to start digging away the floorboard and the earth that was beneath it. After a few minutes of digging, they pulled out what they would discover to be a time capsule which had been there for over 20 years. Piller remarked that it was strange that nobody had noticed the bump on the ground before, but he was soon distracted when he opened the box and found several interesting artifacts inside. Bits and pieces had been there since the production of Star Trek's 1966 second pilot episode. They were concealed within the box, a mummified hand with very little remaining flesh attached, production notes by Gene Roddenberry, and a rock-solid 1966 sandwich were all found inside, giving the team of Star Trek Next Generation an intricate look into the production of 1966 Star Trek. To this day, people all over the world argue about how to pronounce the name of Spock's father. Some say Sarek, others pronounce his Hensing name Sark. The more mundane walk of life pronounce his name as Sarek, due to this being how it's spoken during the episodes. I like to think that the true pronunciation of the name is so hard on the ears that no one is permitted to say it, either backstage or when the cameras are rolling. As you know, this is the episode where Dr. Crusher finally gets to smack her son Wesley across the face. Apparently Gates McSomething had asked Rick Berman several times to get the opportunity to hit Wheaton, but the story had never had the need for that to happen until the filming of Sarek. Each time that a take of the scene was filmed, she would ask to do the scene again, as she kept saying it wasn't good enough. She managed to slap the young Wesley actor 12 times in all, and would possibly confide in Marina Citrus later that she wished she could have done it all day long. When Sarek walks the corridors of the Enterprise, he commands an air of diligence and grace as he walks, in no small part due to his elegant flowing clothes. The original plan, and one that Sarek actor Mark Leonard really wanted to go with, was for Sarek to be wearing a large orange velvet cloak, which would drag behind him as he walked. The original costume that included this cloak was extremely heavy and caused the actor to only be able to walk very, very slow, and so plans were changed. That's why, if you ever watch this episode and wonder why Sarek isn't wearing a giant bright orange velvet cloak, this is exactly why. In this soapy episode, we're lucky enough to witness Sarek's most recent wife, Perrin. This is a quite different wife to Spock's mother and first wife, Amanda, as seen in the original series and that film where they search for Spock. In all, Sarek allegedly had 5 wives over his desperately long life as a male Vulcan, according to the further expanded of Star Trek. First of all was Amanda, who is that one that laid the egg with Spock in it. Next up was Narinahu, which is who Sarek had a baby with as well, and that baby, of course, was Sybok. His third wife was Russ Pepper, who was flushed into space by accident during an important Star Trek novel. His fourth wife was Perrin's mother, Jessica, and finally his last wife in Star Trek was Perrin, who we see in this episode. The Worf actor's girlfriend at the time, Sharon Stone, was allegedly visiting the Star Trek Studio 9 at the time of filming Sarek. She was possibly in the midst of filming Basic Instinct, and as a character actor, she was living the role in preparation for the movie. As she stood at the side of the stage, she was licking her lips and rubbing herself stupid. All of the male actors on the set couldn't take their eyes off of her, bringing production to a standstill. In the end, Rick Berman had to ask her to stop being sexy or leave. Overwhelmingly sexy, she left the set, telling the Worf actor that they'd be having words when he gets home. Now, as a treat for the actors feeling a little down after last week's disaster, Rick Berman brought in a block of elephant bread for everyone to enjoy. Unfortunately, though, the area of Hollywood that they were in had fallen foul to subduction that day, and so nobody was able to enjoy the delicious elephant bread. Not even Will Wheaton. Thanks for listening to my terrific facts all about Star Trek Next Generation Series 3 episode Sarek. If there were some of these facts you didn't even know and enjoyed, go ahead and like. If you have any facts for me, stick them underneath. And I'll see you next time as we head towards the end of Season 3. And perhaps one of the most perilous times in all of Star Trek.